Okay, so we're going to use the chat tonight. We're also going to be unmuting, and we really have saved a lot of time for Q&A tonight. So I'm really glad that you guys are here. And for those of you guys that are watching on the replay, as always, this will live inside the Fearless Warrior portal. So tonight I have a good friend of mine who is actually local to Nebraska. Her name is Alex Madsen. She is a licensed mental health practitioner, which means that on the other side of the mental world, we have mental performance and we have mental health. So Alex actually works in counseling, and she specializes in anxiety, depression, and grief counseling. And so tonight I thought it would be a great resource for her to kind of talk about some of those topics that we tend to shy away from and that I'm not trained in. So Alex, I'm so excited to have you tonight. We're going to be talking about tools to help your athlete with anxiety, which can fall on so many different spectrums. So Alex, I'm so excited for you to educate our warrior parents tonight. Before we get started too, I wanted to have you guys, if you guys can type in the chat, say your name and where you're tuning in from, and then how about your athlete's age? And that will kind of help Alex as well. And then if you have questions, Alex, while you're kind of presenting and talking and asking questions, I will also keep an eye on the chat.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's so nice to see everyone, and thanks for joining tonight. I know it's a Thursday night at 7, sometimes it's hard, but I am excited to talk about a subject that I love, and anxiety can be pretty complex. So today we're just honing in on, like Amanda said, just athletes and focusing on them, because anxiety can run from like diagnosed anxiety to where you might need some medication or additional support. So of course, if any of your athletes fall in those categories, you can ask questions, reach out to me, and we can get them help. But for just the baseline, performance anxiety is what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go through just quick tools, give a brief overview of what to look for what anxiety presents itself like, tools on how to help support them, and then we'll go to questions. So pretty easy. Okay, so when anxiety isn't always bad, so I think the word anxiety can feel like a bad word at times, like I have anxiety, oh no. So anxiety is not always bad. It keeps us safe. I think when we have mild anxiety, it really drives us to be motivated, to be successful, to practice more, to want to be confident. So having that little ounce of anxiety is actually helpful. It's when it gets to more of like moderate severe is when we need to be careful of like, how does it not control our lives and our well-being, and doesn't impact our performance on the field. So sometimes anxiety can be a distraction. It can help us. It usually focuses on the outcome rather than the execution. So we really want to focus on what are we doing right now? We're about to bat, we're about to pitch, we're about to be a first baseman, whatever it is in the realm of softball. But instead of focusing on what's the possible end, like I'm going to fail at this game, we're going to lose, like not focusing there, but just focusing on the here and now. So when we have that higher anxiety, usually our focus goes to the execution or the end when we should really be focusing on the execution. It often decreases motivation when we have high anxiety and pushes us into that fight, flight, freeze, which you'll hear a lot when you're talking about anxiety. Like, do we fight through it? Do we run away? Do we freeze and not do anything? So when we think about our athletes and us as individuals, oftentimes anxiety presents itself physically, emotionally. So you can have muscle tension, you can have deep, rapid breathing, rapid heart racing, sweating, chills. Oftentimes, if you move too quickly, you make errors, you have aggression. So we've all been in a place where we've been frustrated, and I used to play softball too. So if I don't hit the ball or I don't catch as a third baseman, so if I didn't catch the ball when it went by me, like sometimes it would cause me to be upset. So I throw my bat or throw my glove, and like that in itself, the aggression side is actually anxiety. It's like undealt with anxiety that's built up because we haven't used strategies to maintain it. So what do we do? How do we help ourselves? How do we help our athletes? So I'm going to go through I have about 7 points here of how we can quickly help our athletes. So number one, we want to normalize it. Anxiety, again, isn't a bad word. It's not a bad thing. So talking about it, reminding each other that it's okay to have anxiety. It's okay to talk about anxiety. So really having a normalizing attitude about it will help one another and your children to feel safe to talk about it when they are feeling it. Number two is practicing breathing techniques. So breathing is probably one of the best, most useful strategies when dealing with anxiety. So I have 3 breathing techniques that are really quick in the moment that you can use like on the field, or then there's a couple we can use at home. So the one on the field is called box breathing. So I like to use my palm of my hand because it's kind of shaped like a box. So what you do is the top of your box, you breathe in for 5 seconds. The side of your box, you're going to hold it. The bottom of your box, you're going to breathe out. And then the other side, you're going to hold it. Tied with this, sometimes I like to tie like a mantra or a word of encouragement to myself. So it's going to be okay. And then I repeat that all 5 sides, whatever you feel like you need to tell yourself. Tying your breathing to like a positive affirmation is helpful. Another breathing technique is called belly breathing. So this is when you would lay on the ground. You could put a couple books on your belly to be able to visualize it, and you want to watch your diaphragm expand up and expand down. And again, practicing those 5-second breaths in and 5-second exhale. And then one that's similar, it's just called belly balloon. So it's just different visualizations of how do I like visualize breathing. So like you want to have a balloon expand and a balloon deflate. So another just picture, whatever would be helpful. Sorry if I'm going so fast. I tend to talk really quickly. So I can always go back to anything at the end if you guys have questions and want me to repeat different techniques. Okay, so number 3 is our thoughts. So how do we reframe our thoughts? Because again, we tend to focus on the end and the what ifs and the fear versus, okay, the here and now. How do I bring myself back to center? So identifying, the first step in that is just identifying what are my fears, what are my worries, talking about them with someone safe, whether it's a coach, a parent, a friend. And then how do you appropriately prepare coping skills? So, okay, if our worst case is we lose the game, what are we going to be okay? What's our strategies if that does happen? So sometimes that's helpful, is to prepare for the worst case scenario and remind ourselves we're going to be okay if we lose this game. We're going to be okay if we miss the ball and strike out. It sucks, but we're going to be okay. Being kind to ourselves sounds really cheesy, but we are our own worst critics. So oftentimes I have my clients make a list of all their negative thoughts, and then I have them say them out loud to me as if they were saying it to like their little sister or a nephew or a niece. So they tie it to someone else, and all my clients are like, no, I don't want to say that to them. And of course not. We don't say the things we say to ourselves to other people. So why do we give ourselves permission to talk the way we do to ourselves? So being aware of what are our negative thoughts repeating in our head, and how do we switch them to be more kind to ourselves? And then practicing gratitude. So how do we be grateful for the things that we have, the coaches we have, the teammates we have, the opportunity to play, even a simple gratitude in the morning and at night, or just once a day, goes a long ways. It feels cheesy and doesn't feel like it makes a big impact, but gratitude really does reshape our minds to be more positive and intentional. And then point number 4 is practicing mindfulness. So this is probably a newer within the last 5-10 years. Mindfulness is really blowing up in the world of like, how do we really become grounded and centered in ourselves? And I don't have techniques to like really share with you, but the best resource for me has been YouTube, honestly. So if you YouTube grounding exercises or meditation, or there's a ton on YouTube that they're just like 15 minute long guided meditations that walk you through visualization, slow your breathing, something that is really great right before you get on the field or at night to calm yourself down, to be sure to get a good night's rest. That's a great technique to help with anxiety. Okay, point number 5 is simply practice. So as athletes, sometimes we can lack some confidence, and the more we practice, the more higher our confidence is going to be. So be sure to just practice, make sure you go to batting practice, go to pitching practice, do your drills that the coach encourages you to do, because it continues to build that confidence. Number 6 is probably the hardest for most of us, is sleep hygiene. So how are we getting really good rest? Because rest impacts our entire day, but really impacts our anxiety as well. So getting regular rest, trying to go to bed at the same time every night, getting up at the same time every morning, avoiding caffeine. If you have high anxiety, like I would say like moderate to severe, you probably shouldn't ever have caffeine. But if you, like me, I love caffeine and I probably have anxiety as well. You for sure shouldn't have it after like a certain point, at least 4 to 6 hours before you go to bed. Cut that caffeine out. Bed is only for sleeping, so don't do your homework in your bed. Try to have your student do it at a desk. That bed is really like a place where we're only supposed to sleep. That will just help with insomnia and all those things. Electronics is hard for all of us, not just our teenagers, but not using our phones or screens 60 minutes before bed. These are all like not taking naps, stretching before bed, just all things to have a good sleep routine, to have good restful sleep. And then point number 7 is to provide positive feedback to your athlete. So this will help increase self-esteem. So I know as parents, we can be all in on the game and really cheering, really frustrated when we make errors. And those are all okay. But how do we also reinforce the positive affirmations in our athletes? It's just expected we get wrapped up in the feelings of frustrated at what happens at the game, but there's also so many good things that happen. So really focusing on those positive affirmations, because this will build their self-esteem and it lessens their own negative thoughts because our athletes are already feeling it. They're already beating themselves up from the errors that they make. So having coaches and parents and teammates reinforce those negative things that they're already feeling is going to make that go even deeper. And so how do we avoid that? And then my last, just like a closing thought that I have for all of us, myself included, is how are everyone around us, but especially our teens and children, like they are great observers. And so the way we present our own anxiety really impacts those around us. So as parents, how do we be aware of our own needs and our own anxieties in order to ensure that we're not imposing those on our children and athletes? So making sure we're taking care of ourselves and having, again, it's okay to talk about anxiety, but how do we make sure that our own anxiety doesn't impose on our athletes? That was all I had prepared. And so now I'm really excited just to hear what you guys, if you guys have questions, want clarification on anything, the floor is now open.
I love what you said about sleep hygiene and
Yeah.
not doing other things in your bed. I think for the college athletes that I coach, they're even hopping on coaching calls in their dorm rooms on their bed. And so we're processing things, and I know they do homework. And so these are just really simple things that unless somebody else holds them accountable, I had never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Sleep is sacred.
It is. It really is. And if it becomes like, if you work in your bed, do homework in your bed, when you try to go to sleep at night, you're already probably mind's racing with all these things you should be doing. But then especially if this is like where you also get things done, it's good to have that separation.
I need to leave my phone on my desk after tonight. That's what I need to do. Who else is guilty? Please tell me I'm not the only one.
I see some hand raises.
Yeah.
Mine too. I'm literally sitting in a bed right now, so I'm not practicing what I'm preaching.
Well, this is really awesome time for you guys to ask questions of Alex. And just, I know that this is like a tougher topic as far as anxiety and some of the other things that Alex is trained in. So please don't feel like we have to stick to this topic either. So we have 10 to 15 minutes still for you guys just to ask questions. So we wanted to leave time and space for that.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, this is Serena. I'm Kyra's mom. I guess we have been really trying to implement and utilize as much as possible self one, self two that you talked to them about. It was, in January or something like that.
Yeah.
But she just qualified for state track in long jump and triple jump. So we're super excited about that. She's doing it, on the field and on, in other sports as well. But I just wanted to give you props for that because it doesn't just work for softball. It has been working for her in track and battling injuries and battling the aches and pains, but then like legit she broke her butt bone, so now we're battling that. And then you jump into a pit on your butt every single time. It's not comfortable. So we've really been talking about mind over matter and rising above the pain, even though I know it hurts, and she did it through the pain, and she really did it through self-talk and saying, okay, I can do this. So thank you for that coaching. Thank you for giving her the skills that she needed to be successful. And I do like the grounding exercises that you just talked about, because I'm a school nurse, so I have to deal with a lot of kids having anxiety attacks. It's happening more and more. These kids are struggling. And so, that is something that I can give them as a great tool that they can do even in class instead of having to come and see me. They can do that right there on their palm, and they don't have to come and see me and do like a breathing grounding thing that I give them when they are having problems. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate those new skills that you are talking about tonight. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's awesome. And Alex, I know our guest speakers and our workshop attendees, and the cool thing is that both of Alex's nieces have trained with me, but I didn't know that you could do, and that makes sense, the physical side. We teach box breathing inside the program, and so this is why I love doing these. It's just
yeah, it's nice to have it like on your person. Like I can take this anywhere. my technique is right with me all the time.
What else do you guys have?
The quiet bunch.
This might be premature, but if you guys want to unmute, what was your biggest takeaway from tonight? And I know sometimes like in my mind, sometimes simple wins. And so I think going back, like my biggest takeaway tonight is the sleep is sacred and the sleep hygiene. And we're like, yeah, no, duh, that's simple. But do I do it? If I'm going to teach my girls to do it, my one-on-one clients to do it, am I doing it? And so simple wins. And so I think we immediately skip to, yeah, I know this, but what's the difference between knowing and doing?
Yeah.
That's my biggest takeaway. Anyone else have a takeaway?
Okay, I'll talk again.
We love it. It feels free.
This is what happens when you get anyways, I think that another thing that kids really struggle with these days is showing themselves grace and being willing to say or have short-term memory loss where you're like, okay, that didn't work out for me, but you have to focus on this attempt at the bat, this attempt at the runway, whatever the case may be. What's in the past is in the past and you can't change it. All you can do is focus on the task at hand and go after it and be willing to learn from the failures that you've had, because that's how we all learn, is through failure, and being willing to give yourself grace and willing to be able to be happy with failure, because that's how you're going to learn. So my biggest takeaway tonight is probably the hand thing, and then also just being kind to yourself, because we all are just human and we all are going to have our failures. We're all going to have our mistakes. And I tell my kids all the time, there is one thing in life that you get to control. You don't get to control somebody else. You don't get to control somebody else's reactions. The only thing you get to control is you and your reaction to any given situation. So don't be hard on yourself. Don't make a big production out of it. Take a deep breath and go again. That's what you get to control.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
We do whoop whoops on our athlete calls all the time, so it feels funny. By the way, we are going to do a screenshot tonight. If you haven't been to a parent workshop yet, all the girls get to do fun screenshots. We will do a screenshot at the end of this, but I want to leave more space. If you guys have a question for Alex or myself, we're here to support you guys. Alex, I have a question. What, in your private practice, do you work with a lot of athletes, and how would a parent know that it's time to seek out additional support beyond just mental performance? How do they know? I know how to refer as a professional, but how would a parent figure that out of, maybe they do need counseling. Maybe we do need to seek out additional support.
Yeah. I see a couple of athletes. I see a number of teenagers in general. And I think all of them benefit from just basic support in all aspects. But on an anxiety side, I think when it disrupts their well-being for a long period of time. And these strategies that we've talked about tonight, if you've tried breathing and talking it out and good sleep, limiting screen time, limiting caffeine, if you tried those things, and you don't even have to exhaust those things, but if you've attempted, I would say then at that point, if they aren't, if it's really affecting their school success and their mental success, usually when you are wore down from anxiety, it will come out overly emotional, overly sensitive, whether it's what's a slow or fast temper, those kinds of things. So I don't think it's ever a bad time, even at the beginning, to seek out help, because obviously having additional supports around them is great. But that would be the point when I would definitely recommend is when it's like a long term and it just, you guys can't just get a break from it.
That's helpful.
Yeah. I have a question for the parents. Does that ever happen? So what do you guys like? What is the hardest part of when you see your athlete on the field or at a track meet and they're feeling defeated? Like, what is that like for you as a parent? Like, I know tonight was like hopefully to help you with anxiety stuff, but what do you struggle with in those moments when you watch your kids out there? Nothing? No one struggles with anything? Wow. Just kidding.
Hey, Matthew starts T-ball in June. So my 5-year-old, I'm about to enter that world. Not there yet.
Yeah.
Jen's got one.
So I think I feel bad because I know the work that they put in, right? And you're always there putting in the work, and some days it's just not your day. And I feel bad, but I'm always like, hey, it's all right. Like next week, we know what we need to work on, and we just turn it into a positive, like, hey, now we know what to do next week, like how to put it into the schedule. Like, okay, we did a lot of hitting and you did good in hitting, but you didn't do good in fielding. So maybe we'll spend more time on fielding this week. And, you still just have bad days. Some days it's just not your day. Good example was their coach had passed away the week before their first tournament this year. And they came out and the girls, they did the best that they could, but it wasn't a good tournament. They didn't play as well as they did, but they gave 110% of their 110% that they had, but they knew that he'd want them to be on the field and playing. And, some days you're not going to be 100%, no matter how much work you put in the week before. So I just try and, work with what we got as best we can, and always try and find some type of a positive in whatever. But it is hard to see your kid, especially when on the weeks you're like, hey, you didn't do this, so hey, you didn't pitch as much as you should have, so kind of expected it. But on the weeks that they do, they're the harder weeks to watch them fail.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
I guess as a pitcher's mom, the worst part for me is knowing when to keep quiet and when not to keep quiet. And Ash has learned my pacing of where I'm going and what I'm doing. So she looks for me, but sometimes I just have to go hide from her.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, yep, we know. Pitchers know. We're a different breed, that's for sure. Hi, Ash.
I think for me as a mom of an athlete and a former collegiate athlete, you get it. It is hard to struggle as an athlete, but it's also, I think it's 10 times harder as a parent to watch my kids struggling than it was for me to have my own struggles. And what to say at the right time. But something that I've always told her and told my boy is that this is a moment in time. This does not define you. This does not determine how well or how far you can go with this thing. And everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad days, and it's okay to have a bad day. It's not okay to let that bad moment in time ruin a whole entire day. So, we really try to encourage the kids to say, oh, and let it go, and move on to the next thing that you got to do. It's okay to be disappointed. And if you're not disappointed, then there's something wrong with that. But it's not okay to turn it into a woe is me day, or bring down the rest of the team or anything like that. It cannot affect you the rest of the day, and it cannot affect your teammates for the rest of the day. So have your moment, then let it go. It has to go.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it's good. It's like how you said that you can only control you. So as parents, you want to be able to like control the everything and be there for them, but you can only control you. And that's the hard part.
This was awesome, Alex. Thank you for your time. We do want to be mindful of your time, and I say that always. Thank you, parents, for being here. And I think this says a lot to the fact that, you know, I'm looking at some of you guys that have been in our community for literally years now, which is really cool. And just, this is a really special thing. So Alex, thank you. I'd like to bring in more of these topics. And Alex will also be helping with our retreat in July, our in-person retreat that I'm excited about in lots of different capacities. So, all right, Alex, do you want to choose the screenshot?
What do you
we
need
should
to do?
I feel like we should do
Oh.
the hand box.
Yeah, that's great. Let's do it.
All right, get your boxes ready. I'm going to take a screenshot.
I'm gonna hold it.
I like how you held it sideways. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you guys. And we'll see you on the next, I think actually next week is Mental Skills Challenge Week. So that's our big event that we do a couple times a year. It's free. And I'm actually keeping the same challenges as January, which is the girls can still compete even though it's the same challenges, but that's on the docket. And then more guest speakers, and I don't know who are, Jessica Vincent is our next parent workshop in June. She's going to be talking about team drama. So there you go.
Awesome.
Thank you, Alex.
Yes, thank you. It was great to meet everyone.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you.